A fancy Mercedes G-Wagon pulled up to the temple gate. A middle-aged couple got out, along with a girl in a white dress. The girl in the white dress had a dark smudge on her forehead. Her eyes were vacant. A black aura swirled around her. It looked like she was being haunted by some nasty spirit. I figured she was the daughter of some new money family who'd gotten herself into trouble and was here at the temple for help. I was in the middle of roasting the trio's tacky outfits to my master when the middle-aged man suddenly ran up to me. He was forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. "My daughter, you've suffered so much at this temple all these years. Mom and Dad are here to take you home." If he could have hidden the disgust in his eyes just a little better, I might have actually believed him. I might have believed they were worried about me suffering at the temple and had come to take me home. I didn't want to go with them. When things are this strange, something's definitely up. But my master urged me to go down the mountain. He said that some trials are better faced head-on than avoided. It was part of growing up. Since my master said so, I didn't argue. I packed a few changes of clothes, grabbed the local goods he gave me, and went down the mountain with them. My master said accepting their gifts would put them in my debt, and he hoped giving them these local specialties would make them treat me a little better. "Don't put that woven plastic bag in the car, it's filthy," the woman screeched, looking at the bag in my hands with disgust. I glanced down at the sack, which was still caked with a bit of mud, and grinned. "They were just dug up from the mountain," I said. "The mud keeps them fresh." My so-called sister immediately pinched her nose. "Sister, all the food we eat at home is fresh, air-freighted ingredients. Is stuff from the mountain even edible?" And they called themselves rich. Didn't they know that wild, organic food was all the rage in wealthy circles now? Fine. Since they were so disgusted by it, I guess I'd just keep the few thousand-year-old ginseng roots in my bag for myself. Back at the Chun family house, my mother immediately shooed me off to take a shower. "You reek of dirt. Go wash up. We have a guest coming over soon." The disgust in her eyes was completely undisguised. I wasn't hurt. After all, I'd never thought of her as my mother. Still, looking at my sister, who was shrouded in a dark aura, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. I pulled a talisman out of my pocket. "I'd recommend you carry this with you." "What is this garbage?" My dad snatched it from my hand, his eyebrows knitting together. He roared, "How dare you give your sister this piece of junk? The talismans your sister has used since she was a child are all custom made by a true master. Get this embarrassing thing out of here." As if that wasn't enough, my dad tore the talisman I'd offered Chelsea to shreds. Wow. A charm that people would pay a fortune for, and he'd just ripped it up. Whatever. Since they'd already decided I was useless, nothing I said would matter. We have our rules. We don't help those who don't ask. If they wouldn't ask for help themselves, then we could only go with the flow of fate. When I came out of the bathroom, I saw the master my dad had mentioned. "Hurry up and greet the master. What are you dawdling over there for?" My dad barked when he saw me, his brow furrowed in anger. Then he turned to the master with a sycophantic smile. "Master Bianca, could you take a look at her and see if her features are a match for my daughter?" The master, known as Bianca, was pointing a finger at me, her expression excited. "You want to borrow her life? She's the hay." I cleared my throat loudly, cutting Bianca off. "I need to speak with this young lady for a moment," she said, pointing at me, trying to keep her voice steady. "I hope you can give us some privacy." After Bianca had politely ushered them out, she stared at me in shock. "Senior, what are you doing down the mountain?" "As you can see," I said, shrugging helplessly. "Brought back by my birth parents. The ones who think you're a jinx and abandoned you?" I nodded. Bianca's jaw dropped. I've never seen parents who would borrow their biological daughter's life force for their adopted one. I wasn't particularly bothered. I asked Bianca about the situation and got the gist of why they'd brought me down the mountain. Chelsea was always sick, but doctors could never find anything wrong with her. The hospital had issued critical condition notices several times, but they still couldn't diagnose the cause. "She's surrounded by a dark aura. Can't you see it?" "I saw it," Bianca nodded, not daring to keep secrets from me. "Isn't borrowing a life force a big payday?" I had originally planned to string them along. After all, they couldn't tell the difference between borrowing a life and exorcising a minor demon. I never expected their biological daughter would be you. With that, Bianca shot me a resentful look, as if I'd ruined her big score. You do your thing. Just don't blow my cover, I said. I want to play with them for a few more days. If they find out who I am too early, it'll be so boring. I won't have any little fools to mess with. At dinner, my mother seated me in a corner while Chelsea sat in the best spot. Normally, a homecoming calls for dumplings, but instead, my mother had stewed a head of cabbage, stir-fried some shredded radish, and made a bowl of tomato and egg soup. The only impressive dish was a platter of king crab, which was placed right next to Chelsea. You grew up in a temple, didn't you? You must be a vegetarian. We made this all-vegetarian meal just for you, my mother said coolly, glancing at me before picking up her chopsticks to put a crab on Chelsea's plate. Her face immediately broke into a smile. Chelsea, you're still growing. Eat up. I didn't really care. I used to eat all sorts of delicacies with my master on the mountain every day. A light meal once in a while was a good way to cleanse my system. I expressionlessly put a piece of radish in my mouth. Just then my father asked me casually, "Did you go to school these past few years?" In their minds, I was probably some uncultured illiterate who grew up in the mountains. Chelsea smiled sweetly at me. "Sister, I'm enrolling at Stanford tomorrow." My mom pretended to chide her. "Chelsea, maybe your sister didn't get to go to school. You shouldn't say things like that, you might hurt her feelings." Even though she was scolding her, her eyes were filled with adoration for Chelsea. I was speechless. How could they be so confident? I nodded. I got into Stanford. I'm enrolling tomorrow too. Compared to my mom and Chelsea, my dad had always been relatively calm. But when he heard that I also got into Stanford, his face showed a flicker of surprise. "You got in on your own? What was your score? Did you have money for tuition? Your master must have treated you well." In my dad's eyes, my master must have bankrupted himself to send me to school. I had no idea why they thought he was poor. A 691. I was the state's liberal arts valedictorian this year. I grinned, showing my dad a full set of pearly whites. Then I launched my soul-crushing attack. "What score did my dear sister get?" "Your sister is an art major. It's different from you," my mother stammered. From the looks of it, I knew Chelsea hadn't gotten in on her own merits. My parents must have used a little of their superpower. The moment I stepped into the classroom at school, all eyes were on me. "Chelsea, is that the sister you said grew up in the mountains? She looks so rustic. Look at what she's wearing, that coarse blue outfit. My cleaning lady wouldn't even wear that." A few of them started picking me apart. One girl walked right up to me and looked me up and down, the scorn in her eyes practically shooting out. "I heard you grew up in a temple. Can you tell fortunes?" The second she finished, the room erupted in laughter. "Chloe, why are you even in school? You should just set up a stall and be a fortune teller." "Yes, send us the address. We were classmates, after all. We'll come support you, toss you a few bucks." Another wave of laughter went through the classroom. I didn't respond. I just raised an eyebrow at the girl standing in front of me. "Your dad is dying." The girl froze, her face flushing with anger. "What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Your dad's in construction. He's a supervisor, but he's been busy the last couple of days and had to be on site." Jenna stood there, stunned. So, I didn't say anything. I just arched an eyebrow and glanced at Chelsea, who was standing behind her. If I continued, I'd have to charge a fee. As expected, Chelsea took the bait. "Jenna, this isn't the countryside. You can't afford to offend these classmates. Don't bring your scam artist habits here. If my dad finds out, he'll send you back to the sticks." I ignored Chelsea and turned back to Jenna. "Want me to continue?" As Jenna's expression wavered, Chelsea shouted from behind her, "Jenna, don't believe her. She's just a liar from the country." "Continue," Jenna said, cutting Chelsea off. "You continue. Yesterday at the construction site, your father was hit by something that fell from above. He's in the hospital, fighting for his life." Yes. The hospital has already issued several critical condition notices." Jenna nodded frantically. She had never told anyone about what happened to her dad at the site. I took out a talisman. Have your dad keep this with him for the next 2 days. He'll wake up tonight. After he wakes up, burn this talisman, mix the ash with water, and have him drink it. Okay. Jenna took the talisman reverently. How much? $4,000. Why don't you just rob someone? Chelsea shot back from behind Jenna when she heard the price. Jenna, don't let her fool you. If it can save my dad's life, $4,000 is nothing. Seeing how seriously Jenna was taking it, the other students in the class grew curious and started gathering around me. Chloe, can you do a reading for me too? You're fine. Don't get random readings. The more you mess with your fate, the thinner it gets. We don't usually take clients unless there's a real problem. Seeing the students crowd around me, Chelsea's plan to isolate me failed. She stomped her foot in frustration. Don't be fooled by her. She's a con artist, a total fraud. She's a jinx. Anyone who gets close to her will be cursed to death. But no matter how furious she got, no one paid her any attention. In the end, Chelsea could only stomp her foot and leave. By the end of the day, I had made quite a few new friends. As school was letting out, someone even invited me over to their house. Chloe, I hear you're a good student. Why don't you come tutor me? I'll pay you $1,000 a day. That should be enough for your living expenses for a month, right? The speaker was Gabby, Chelsea's good friend. After she spoke, she let out a chuckle, her eyes glinting with ridicule. I looked at the two of them coldly, in no hurry to answer. These people were all weighed down by bad karma. The shadow around Chelsea was especially thick. But they were completely oblivious, still laughing at me for being a country bumpkin. The dark energy around them was similar. They must have been tangled up with the same entity. I was curious about what was haunting them, so I agreed. Sure. Only a fool would turn down good money. They were probably not calling me over for tutoring, but if I could make some money just by showing up, why not? When they heard me agree, they burst into another round of laughter. Chelsea, your sister is really overestimating herself. Gabby covered her mouth, laughing uncontrollably. I didn't care. Seeing that they had nothing else to say, I stopped paying attention to them. As I turned to leave, I threw over my shoulder. Text me your address later. I was still worried about Jenna's father. Since she had asked for my help, I was responsible for her. Ignoring the string of laughter behind me, I rushed to the hospital. After seeing Jenna's father slowly wake up, I felt relieved and headed to Gabby's house. As soon as I walked into the house, a wave of dark energy almost knocked me over. I steadied myself and carefully observed my surroundings. A thick, dark energy permeated the place, like a vengeful spirit with a deep grudge. Looks like this family was haunted by a restless soul. As I looked around, someone at the door stopped me. The person looked me up and down with a look of disgust. Excuse me, we need to announce you. We can only let you in with the owner's permission. I raised an eyebrow and motioned for him to go ahead. If they didn't let me in, I'd just leave. Senior. The security guard was talking on the video intercom when a voice called out from behind him, filled with surprise. Senior, you're down from the mountain. I turned around awkwardly. The person who had called out saw me turn and walked quickly toward me, looking me over with excitement. You're really down from the mountain. It's Leo. Bianca told me you were out, but I didn't believe it. What are you doing here? I didn't answer Leo's question and asked one of my own. Leo scratched his head. You probably saw it when you came in. This family has been having a string of bad luck lately. They asked me to come take a look today. As he spoke, his face lit up. It's so great to run into you here. When I first came in, I was hit by a wave of dark energy. I don't know what kind of vengeful spirit it is. I was getting nervous, but now that you're here, I'm not afraid anymore. I was speechless. First things first, don't blow my cover. I have my own things to deal with. I paused, then reminded Leo. Their situation is tricky. If you see something later that you don't think you can handle, don't force it. Just then, Gabby's mother peeked her head out the door. When she saw Leo, her face broke into a wide smile. Mr. Leo. Then, as if just noticing me, she gave me a disdainful look. You must be the tutor for Gabby. Seeing his mother's disgusted look toward me, Leo's face darkened. He was about to speak up for me, but I shot him a look that stopped him. Leo secretly texted me, telling me to be careful. He had seen Gabby sneaking into her room with a rope. After reading Leo's text, I raised an eyebrow. A rope? Were they planning to kidnap me? Interesting. I just wondered if they had what it takes to pull it off. When I went upstairs, Gabby and Chelsea were fawning over male celebrities. When Gabby saw me, she let out a snort and shot Chelsea a look. Your sister dresses like a beggar. She doesn't match your style at all, Chelsea. Are you sure she's not the adopted one? She doesn't even have the same last name as you. Don't say that, Chelsea said softly, giving Gabby's arm a gentle push. She's my sister after all. She'll be hurt if she hears that. You're just too nice, Gabby shrugged. If you ask me, she's just some hick from the country. No one would even know if we got rid of her. Then I'll leave it to you, Chelsea said, winking at Gabby. She's my sister after all. I can't bring myself to do it. As she spoke, she gave me a meaningful smile. Don't worry. Once Master Leo gets here, I'll make sure he doesn't leave here alive, Gabby said with a sinister grin. One life should be enough for the two of us, right? The two of them talked openly in front of me, not bothering to hide anything. They probably thought that even if I had magical powers, I wouldn't be getting out of their house today, so they didn't even bother to pretend anymore. Well, I'm heading home then. As Chelsea left Gabby's room, her gaze fell on me, full of mockery. It's your honor to lend us your life. You'd better cooperate. I ignored her. If they wanted my life, they'd have to see if they were fated to take it. As soon as Chelsea left, I studied Gabby closely. She had 6 lives hanging on her. A teenage girl with 6 lives on her shoulders. No wonder the entire house was shrouded in black energy. You've borrowed the lives of 6 people. At my words, Gabby froze. How did you know? Then, as if realizing something, she quickly denied it. I don't know what nonsense you're talking about. Have you been feeling like your shoulders are really heavy lately? Like you're carrying someone on your back? I ignored her denial and continued. Gabby nodded. Yes. I've been feeling so tired lately, like someone's sitting on my shoulders. Sensing that I might know what I was talking about, Gabby didn't bother denying it anymore. She grabbed my hand, her expression frantic. That's because the 6 restless spirits whose lives you borrowed are all on your shoulders, I said, pointing at Gabby's shoulder. What did you say? Gabby gripped my hands, her eyes turning fierce. Don't you try to scare me. You're just trying to save your own skin. You know perfectly well whether I'm trying to scare you or not. I looked directly into Gabby's eyes, giving her no room to look away. You tricked these 6 people into letting you borrow their life force. Right now, they're all in the ICU, barely clinging to life. If you deal with this quickly, their souls might still be able to return to their bodies, and your karma won't be so heavy. Seeing Gabby's eyes gradually glaze over with confusion, I continued. You were tricked by Chelsea. You never needed to borrow anyone's life. Your luck was actually pretty good. But these past few years, you've been doing bad things with her, and she's dragged you down. The dark energy has already spread to your temples. If you don't resolve this soon, I'm afraid your days are numbered. You're talking nonsense. Gabby's voice lacked conviction now. She unconsciously stepped back when our eyes met. Because Chelsea is sick herself, she's been going to temples everywhere for years, looking for someone to borrow life from. She used you and hurt 6 young women. Those 6 poor girls are still in your house. You'd better watch out for yourself. While Gabby was still stunned, I turned and easily opened her locked door. See? You thought Chelsea locked the door, but she never actually did. She gave those girls a chance to escape every time. They just didn't know it, and neither did you. This was also why the resentful energy around Chelsea was weaker than Gabby's. Gabby probably never expected Chelsea to backstab her. The information was too much for her to process. You're not as smart as Chelsea. She's using you as her pawn. When those restless spirits come looking for revenge, they'll only come for you. Chelsea is just hiding in the background, getting a little hit to her own luck. With that, I said no more. On my way downstairs, Leo had just finished his feng shui reading of the house. He was frowning as he rejected the family's request. You're carrying too many lives. My abilities are limited, I can't handle this. Master Leo, you must be joking. Gabby's father forced a smile that looked worse than crying. Everyone knows you're the most powerful feng shui master around here. If you can't do it, who can we turn to? Just then, Leo saw me coming down the stairs. He gave me a meaningful look and said, "My senior could, but I don't know if she'd be willing to take the case." Hearing this, Gabby's father immediately asked cautiously, "Do you have your senior's contact information?" Leo glanced at me. "My senior has a bit of a temper. Even if I gave you her contact info, you might not be able to get in touch with her." I was satisfied with Leo's answer. I casually said goodbye to Gabby's parents and left. When I got home, Chelsea saw me return in one piece and shot up from the sofa. She pointed a finger at me, her face a mask of disbelief. How are you back? Are you saying I shouldn't be?" I raised an eyebrow at Chelsea, then glanced at my equally incredulous parents. I knew then that they were all in on what was supposed to happen at Gabby's house. Meeting my defiant gaze, Chelsea seemed to lose her composure. "This is your home, sister. You can come back whenever you want." My mother was the same, trying to feign calmness as she looked at me. "Stop talking nonsense. Where have you been messing around so late?" What a way to turn things around. I didn't really care. I'd never thought of them as my parents anyway. Actually, when you think about it, my parents are kind of pathetic. They've been tricked by that unscrupulous Taoist priest for so many years. My master once said that my destiny was incredibly noble. Whoever raised me would be blessed with good fortune. Unfortunately, my parents weren't destined for that luck. Of course, I couldn't let them benefit from my good fortune either. I had to find a way to move out of the Chen house as soon as possible. I could see the dark energy around Chelsea rapidly spreading to my parents. What if those restless spirits that had been hanging around Chelsea for so long came after me? No way. I ignored them and went straight to my room. Under the moonlight, I took out a talisman and stuck it on my door. When I came home today, I felt that the negative energy was much stronger than when I'd returned yesterday. I looked at the talisman I had put on the door yesterday. It had already turned to ash. I never expected the resentment in this room to be so strong that a talisman would turn to ash in just one night. I took out another talisman and stuck it on. I had to find a way to get out of here quickly. The next day when I went back to school, I had just stepped into the classroom when Jenna threw her arms around me. "Oh my God, Chloe, are you some kind of angel?" My dad really woke up. They gave him several critical condition notices yesterday, but last night after he drank your blessed water, he was moved from the ICU to a regular room. Hearing Jenna say that, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he's safe. Remember, when he's discharged, your whole family should go to the place where the accident happened and burn some paper money. Okay, I'll listen to everything you say. Jenna was ecstatic. "My dad wants to invite you over to our house." When the other students heard Jenna talking to me, they all crowded around us, chattering away. "Your dad drank Chloe's talisman water and he's really okay? Is Chloe really that amazing?" Jenna nodded, gripping my hand with gratitude. "Chloe, from now on, you are the savior of the Jiang family. Whatever you want, just ask. We'll do our absolute best to grant it. Anything." I raised an eyebrow. Just when I was feeling sleepy, heaven sent me a pillow. I nodded firmly at Jenna. "Anything? In that case, could I stay at your place for a few days?" I had been thinking about leaving the Chen's house yesterday, and today Jenna was offering me a favor. I wouldn't be staying down the mountain for long, so buying a house would be a waste. If Jenna was willing to let me stay at her place, I would even throw in a prosperity talisman as a thank you. "Is that all?" "Of course." Jenna was surprised by my request at first, but her expression quickly turned to delight. "Our whole family would welcome you anytime." Jenna took my hand and looked around at everyone. "Listen up, everyone. Chloe is my sister now. If any of you messes with her, you're messing with me." Although Jenna's father was in construction, her grandfather was a big deal. He was the richest man in the city. He only had one son, Jenna's dad, but he was still in a rebellious phase, trying to prove himself even at his age. Jenna's grandfather had already decided to take her dad out of the line of succession. Instead, her older brother had been raised as the heir since he was a child. So Jenna held a certain status in the class. But Jenna's protectiveness was unnecessary. After what happened with her dad, the students in the class were all in awe of me. Other than Chelsea and Gabby, no one would dare to bully me. With Jenna as my advertiser, I became famous at school very quickly. I spent the day doing readings for a few people who needed them and made a decent amount of money. As school was about to end, Gabby was hovering in my direction, looking like she wanted to say something but couldn't. I wasn't planning on paying her any mind and was about to pack my bag to go get my things and move to Jenna's. "Can we talk for a minute?" As I was slinging my bag over my shoulder, Gabby finally mustered the courage to stop me. I nodded and started walking, signaling for her to follow me. I led Gabby to the athletic field. It was empty, and no one would notice us there. Gabby's eyes were red, she had clearly been crying. She told me everything she and Chelsea had done, and how Chelsea had tricked her. Through Gabby, I learned that the Chun family's business had been booming all these years entirely because Chelsea had been borrowing other people's fates. But the karmic retribution had all fallen on Gabby. Not only was her family's business declining, but her own health was getting worse and worse. For the past 2 years, Gabby would get sick every time the weather turned cold, and doctors couldn't find anything wrong. On July 15th of this year, she almost died. That's when her family got desperate and started looking for masters to check their feng shui. Chelsea had managed to trick Gabby thanks to that wandering Taoist priest from years ago. Chelsea used the priest's reputation to her advantage, claiming she had a third eye and could see people's fortunes. She said Gabby was haunted by a small spirit, which was why her luck was so bad. If she could borrow someone else's fate, she could change her own. At that time, Gabby's family had just lost several business deals in a row. Her father was struggling and started grasping at straws. This gave Chelsea the opening she needed. "I know I've done terrible things, but I really don't want to die. Chloe, please save me," Gabby pleaded, clutching my hand like it was a lifeline. I looked at her coldly. "How do you want me to help you? Please save them, okay? Save those 6 girls, please." I breathed a sigh of relief. I had been worried Gabby would ask me to destroy the spirits of those 6 girls. Thankfully, she still had some conscience left. "Okay." I agreed to Gabby's request. "But I have a condition. After I help you, you can't do these things anymore. Stay away from Chelsea." Okay. I promise. Gabby nodded like a bobblehead. "From now on, I will never do anything like this again, and I will never hang out with Chelsea again." She looked like she was about to swear an oath. "All right." I felt reassured and walked out of the school with Gabby. "Then come with me." Gabby and I were walking hand in hand out of the school gate when we ran into Chelsea. Seeing me and Gabby holding hands, Chelsea looked like she'd seen a ghost. "What are you two doing together? Gabby, you shouldn't be with her. You'll become unlucky." As she spoke, Chelsea reached out to grab Gabby's hand. But before her hand could touch Gabby forcefully shook her off. "Chelsea, I suggest you stay far away from me. From now on, if I see you, I'll beat you up." "Gabby," Chelsea, still clueless about what had happened, whispered in a hurt tone. "What's wrong? Don't be fooled by that country bumpkin Chloe. What did she say to you? Is she trying to drive a wedge between us?" "Shut up, you." Gabby rolled her eyes. "Stay away from us." With that, Gabby pulled me away. The people around us saw what happened and started pointing and whispering about Chelsea. Feeling humiliated, Chelsea didn't want to stick around. She covered her face and ran off. I went with Gabby to her house. This time, her parents had lost all of their previous arrogance and looked at me cautiously. "We heard from Master Leo that you are his senior." Gabby's mother wrung her hands, looking a bit uncomfortable. "I'm so sorry. We were blind before. We're truly sorry. It's fine." I waved my hand dismissively. "I looked at your house last time I was here. The problem is with your daughter." As I spoke, I had already set up a formation around the room and asked Gabby to step into the center. "Do my parents need to come in?" Gabby asked, showing some filial concern. I shook my head. "No need. The problem is with you. We just need to resolve the restless spirits attached to you." With that, I bit my finger and dotted a drop of blood on Gabby's forehead. Then I took a talisman from my pocket, burned it over a flame, and asked her parents for some water. I sprinkled the ash into the water, made a potion, and handed it to Gabby. Drink this. Gabby now had complete faith in me. Without a moment's hesitation, she took the water from my hand and drank it all. Seeing Gabby drink the water, I closed my eyes and began to chant softly. Almost instantly, the spirits swiftly departed, going to where they were supposed to go. A weight lifted from Gabby. Without me having to say anything, she instinctively opened her eyes. Are they gone? Gabby looked at me as soon as she opened her eyes, her gaze filled with gratitude. I feel so much lighter. Yes, I nodded, glancing at the formation surrounding her. Don't touch this formation for a while. Let it stay. And this talisman, keep it with you for 49 days, then burn it. Mix the ashes with water and drink it again. That will clear your karmic debt. Gabby nodded repeatedly. I then turned to her parents. Sir, ma'am, you should try to do more charity work in the coming years. If you make any unexpected profits, donate it all. For the next few years, just keep enough to live on, nothing more. They also nodded again and again. Master Chloe, thank you so much. We are truly grateful. We were blind before, please don't hold it against us. With that, they took out a bank card. There's 100,000 in here. It's a token of our appreciation. No need. I didn't take the card. I'm not charging for this because it was to save lives. Saving a life is a great merit. It helps my own spiritual cultivation, so I can't accept payment. But how can we? Gabby's father, a businessman, knew that an exchange of value was the safest transaction. He was uneasy that I wouldn't take the money. Don't worry, the matter has been resolved. I knew what he was worried about. But even though they had been deceived, they had still done wrong. I didn't want them to get off so easily. A little fear would keep them from making the same mistakes in the future. Before I left, I gave Gabby one last instruction. Remember what I told you. If Gabby continued to hang out with Chelsea and do bad things, not even a god could save her. Gabby nodded repeatedly, looking at me with immense gratitude. They wanted me to stay for dinner, but I refused. I had promised Jenna I would go to her house tonight, and it wouldn't be right to be late on my first visit. When I got back to the Chun house, they were already at the dinner table. As I walked in, my mother said with a look of disgust, "Always out messing around. You should learn from your sister. She always comes home on time after school. Since you can't stand the sight of me, I'll move out so I'm not an eyesore. I just came back to pack my things." Of course, they weren't going to let me go that easily. After all, they still wanted to borrow my life. But they didn't want to ask me to stay either. In their eyes, a country girl like me should be mesmerized by the city lights and unwilling to leave their home. For me to suggest leaving was a slap in their face. My father stood up from the table and looked down at me, his tone dripping with condescension. You don't have to leave. You can stay if you want. You just need to know your place and always put Chelsea first. No thanks. I shrugged, looking at my arrogant father with a cold smile. I'm moving out right now. With that, I ran up to my room to pack. I didn't really have much to pack. I hadn't planned on staying long, so I had only brought a few outfits. It was quick to pack. When my father saw me come out with my backpack, his face darkened. Chloe, don't be ungrateful. Where do you think you can go once you leave the Chun family? He suddenly let out a sneer. You're not thinking of going back to that poor-ass master of yours, are you? My father seemed to look down on my master a great deal. Of course, someone like my master didn't need his approval. Seeing the dark aura swirling around him, I figured it wouldn't be long before he was begging the very person he looked down on to save his life. Chloe, how about this? Apologize and I'll let you stay. The Jiang family is having a banquet tomorrow, and I can take you. Apologize? I hadn't done anything wrong, so why should I? No need. You can use that opportunity for yourselves. I won't get in your way. They didn't know I was going to be staying at the Jiang family's house that night. I didn't bother with them anymore and just left with my backpack. This was never my home to begin with. I hurried to the Jiang family's house with my few belongings. When I saw that they had dinner ready and were waiting for me, I felt a bit embarrassed. It was my first time visiting, and making them wait was rude. If my master found out, he'd probably scold me again. I'm sorry, something came up. I hope I didn't keep you waiting. Not at all, not at all. Mrs. Jiang was very warm. She pulled me over to a seat and handed me a glass of warm water. You're our family's savior. Waiting for you is nothing. Besides, we just got everything ready, and my son Mason isn't even back yet. With that, Mrs. Jiang urged Jenna to call her brother. I told him to come home early today, and he still kept our guest of honor waiting. It's okay, Auntie, I quickly said, stopping Jenna. Please don't be so formal. Just call me Chloe. Mrs. Jiang's politeness was making me feel awkward. Just then Mason came home. Why are you so late? Mrs. Jiang immediately expressed her displeasure with her son. Mason showed a hint of apology on his face. Something came up at the last minute. You guys go ahead and eat, don't wait for me. We were waiting to introduce you to the person who saved your father's life, Chloe. Before Mrs. Jiang could finish, Mason's gaze had already landed on me. He walked toward me, his face full of surprise. Senior? It's been so many years. Do you remember me? Honestly, I didn't. I scratched my head awkwardly. I had junior disciples all over the world, and I'd been running into them every day since I came down the mountain. My memory wasn't the best. I felt a bit bad. He was so excited, and I couldn't even remember him. I was your little follower. Seeing that I really couldn't remember, Mason's face fell. When we were little, I loved following you around. How could you forget about little Mason? So it was that little follower. When Mason was young, he was always sick because he was frail. His mother had no choice but to send him to the temple to cultivate his health. At one point, they were thinking of having him become a monk, but when it was time to shave his head, his mother couldn't bear it. So, my master suggested that Mason practice with his hair on, and could be brought back down the mountain once his health improved. It's been 8 years since we've seen each other. Mason? Your little Mason? I can't believe it's been so many years. The little follower has grown up so much. And you're kind of handsome now. I looked at Mason with pleasant surprise and patted his head like I used to, even though he was now much taller than me. You've grown so much. It's been a while. You're taller and more handsome. To accommodate me, Mason even bent down a little so I could reach his head. Senior, you finally remember me. A face that was usually cold and unapproachable suddenly looked crestfallen. You have no idea. I went to the temple so many times, but Master wouldn't let me see you. That's because I was in seclusion, I said, smiling and comforting him like I used to. Master wouldn't let anyone disturb me. So you're the senior my brother used to talk about all the time after he came home. The one he couldn't forget. Jenna exclaimed, grabbing my hand excitedly and nearly jumping up and down. You're the one who used to beat him black and blue, and he'd still follow you around like a puppy? Jenna's excitement was making me a little awkward. After all, we were in front of his parents, and she was bringing up how I used to beat up their kid. She was really airing my dirty laundry. But to my surprise, Mrs. Jiang just giggled and covered her mouth. That boy was always getting into trouble. When we sent him to the temple, we were worried he'd be a nuisance. We never thought there would be someone at the temple who could keep him in line. That put our minds at ease. We just never imagined that person was you, Chloe. This must be fate. Mr. Jiang also let out a hearty laugh. When we brought Mason home, we wanted to visit you and your master, but one of his disciples told us you were both in seclusion, so we couldn't thank you in person. I smiled and nodded. Yes, Master was in seclusion for a while back then, and wasn't seeing anyone. I never thought I'd have such a connection to the Jiang family. After a bit more small talk, we finally started dinner. Later that evening, when Jenna was showing me to my room, she whispered, Chloe, our family is going to the old estate tomorrow for a banquet. My mom wants you to come with us, but she's afraid you'll say no or feel awkward, so she didn't dare ask you. Would you be willing to come? Then Jenna quickly waved her hands. It's totally fine if you don't want to go. Don't feel pressured. It's fine. I smiled and shook my head. I remembered my mom mentioning a banquet at the Jiang family's house when I left the Chens earlier. It was probably this one. I also remembered the outfits my mom had prepared for Chelsea. She was probably planning to find her a rich bachelor at this event. How could I miss such a good show? Thank your aunt for the invitation. I'll go with you tomorrow. Really? Jenna was so happy to hear I was going that she jumped for joy. Then she whispered again, Chloe, to be honest, my mom also wants you to come to the estate because she needs your help with something. But you just moved in, and you've already helped us so much. So she's too embarrassed to ask for another favor. I smiled and waved my hand. It's not like I didn't get paid. Besides, you're helping me by letting me stay here. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I paused, then asked, Is it something about your grandfather? Yeah, Jenna nodded. I can't really explain it, but you're so amazing, you'll probably know as soon as you get there. I nodded. Given my history with Mason, I would have helped his family anyway. And since Mr. and Mrs. Jiang had been so kind as to take me in, of course I would do everything I could to help. The next evening, when Jenna and I got home from school, Mrs. Jiang came toward us with a smile, holding 2 evening gowns. Chloe, I picked out a couple of dresses for you. See which one you like. I was about to say that the clothes I was wearing were fine, but seeing the expectant look on Mrs. Jiang's face, I couldn't bring myself to refuse her kindness. I glanced at them and chose a black evening gown. It wasn't until we got to the Jiang family's old estate, and I saw Mason that I realized why Mrs. Jiang had prepared those 2 dresses for me. No matter which one I chose, it would have matched his outfit perfectly. Looks like Mrs. Jiang was trying to play up the childhood sweethearts angle. But when I arrived at the estate, I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Although the place showed some signs of decay, nothing was fundamentally wrong. So I whispered to Jenna, I want to look around. I don't see anything unusual here. Jenna, of course, readily agreed. Do you need me to come with you? No need. I shook my head gently. I'll just wander around myself. Jenna briefly described the layout of the estate, and I went off on my own. After a full tour, I still hadn't found anything wrong, so I went back to the banquet hall. The guests had all arrived. I smiled and waved at Jenna, about to head over to her, when my parents spotted me. Well, look what the cat dragged in. How did the little beggar get in here? Yesterday, I had defied their wishes and insisted on leaving the Chen family, and they were still furious with me. Their words were as harsh as they could be. I wasn't angry. I just gave them a faint smile and was about to walk away. After all, they were about to have a run of bad luck, and I didn't want to get involved and have it rub off on me. The Jiang family's banquet isn't for just any riff-raff. Security. What are you doing? How could you let someone in without an invitation? My mother wasn't going to let me off that easily. When she saw me trying to leave, she grabbed my arm and started shouting for security. I sighed and decided to play along, standing still. My mother didn't manage to summon security, but she did get Jenna's attention. When Jenna saw my mother grabbing my arm with a menacing look, she immediately stepped in front of me and said sharply, Mrs. Chun, Chloe is an honored guest of our family, not the riff-raff you're talking about. She saved my father's life. She is our family's savior. Oh, you poor girl. Don't be fooled by this little beggar, my mother said, taking Jenna's hand with a sycophantic smile. She's just a scam artist from the country. Your father was probably fine all along, and she just got lucky. Exactly, Chelsea chimed in. Jenna, don't be fooled by her. She just lived in a temple for a few years. She can't really tell fortunes. It's all just tricks and scams. Don't fall for it. The commotion quickly drew a crowd. They didn't know what was happening and gathered around to watch, pointing and whispering. Seeing the growing crowd, my mother began her performance. Wiping away fake tears, she announced to everyone, This is my daughter. She's just never been close to us. She insisted on running away to live in some temple. After a few years, she came back and started scamming people. We've been worried sick about this child. This daughter is nothing like our younger one, who never gives us any trouble. As she spoke, my mother didn't forget to push her adopted daughter forward. Chelsea played her part perfectly, nodding along. My parents have worked tirelessly for my sister's sake, but she refuses to even come home. How can such an ungrateful person achieve anything, even if she lived in a temple? Hearing Chelsea's words, the crowd began to point their fingers at me. Hearing them twist the story, Jenna was so angry she was stomping her feet. She tried to defend me, but her one voice was no match for theirs. Just as she was fuming, Mason walked over. He looked cool and detached, as if no one else existed. But as he got closer to me, the iciness around him melted away. He bowed respectfully to me. "Senior, grandfather is waiting for you." The crowd gasped, wondering what my relationship was with the heir of the Jiang family that he would treat me with such respect. After speaking to me, Mason turned to the crowd. "Chloe saved my father's life. This banquet was held in her honor. She is a guest of the Jiang family. Any disrespect to Chloe is disrespect to our family." Mason scanned the room, his eyes once again cold and distant. The crowd fell silent, their gazes toward me now filled with respect. My father, my mother, and Chelsea looked like they had just eaten crap. Chelsea took a deep breath and said to Mason, "Mason, how can someone who doesn't even respect her own parents have any integrity? Don't be fooled by her." As soon as Chelsea finished, my parents seemed to find their voices again and quickly chimed in. "Chelsea is right. We've worried about this daughter our whole lives, but she won't even live with us." "Worried about her? What have you ever done for her?" Before my father could finish, Mason let out a cold laugh. "Mr. Chen, if I recall correctly, you gave my senior away right after she was born. What exactly have you worried about?" At Mason's words, another wave of shock went through the crowd. They probably couldn't believe that parents who didn't love their own child existed in this world. My father's face darkened, but another voice cut in from behind him. "Didn't you bring your senior back home just to borrow her life force?" "That's nonsense," my father snarled, not daring to take his anger out on Mason. He turned to the speaker, only to find it was Bianca. "Master Bianca?" "Bianca's noted. I have a habit of recording all my business dealings before taking a case. So, if Mr. Chen doesn't want to admit it, I don't mind playing the recording of our negotiation." My father's face turned deathly pale. When the crowd heard the words "borrow her life," their expressions turned even more shocked. Just then Mr. and Mrs. Jiang walked over. No one could understand why this family had so much hostility toward their own daughter. At that moment, Gabby surprisingly stood up for me. "You're the liars. You tricked me into hurting people, and I almost died. If it weren't for Chloe, I wouldn't be standing here so healthy right now." Gabby looked at Chelsea with hatred in her eyes. "Chelsea, didn't I warn you not to show your face in front of me? Or I'd beat you up every time I saw you. You little brat, you're spouting nonsense." My father obviously recognized Gabby, and was terrified she would reveal more. Gabby snorted. "Am I spouting nonsense? If your daughter hadn't manipulated me into hurting people, I wouldn't have been sick all the time. If the person Chelsea wanted to harm this time wasn't Chloe, and Chloe hadn't discovered the truth, I'd probably be nothing but a pile of ashes by now." Gabby's words sent another shockwave through the crowd. They all started pointing at my parents, murmuring amongst themselves, "Nonsense. It's all nonsense." Seeing everyone turn against her, my mother's nerves frayed. She started pointing at us and cursing. Seeing this, Mr. Jiang ordered the family security, "Throw this family of 3 out. And from now on, don't ever let them set foot in our house again." My father, mother, and Chelsea were being dragged out. My mother clearly didn't want to leave after all. She had planned to find a rich husband for Chelsea at this banquet. "Chloe, hurry up and tell them you're our biological daughter. Don't let them kick us out." I rolled my eyes and ignored them. Mrs. Jiang looked at me, her eyes red. "You poor child. No wonder you told Jenna you wanted to stay with us. You were trying to escape. You've suffered so much." I smiled and shook my head, indicating it was no big deal. "Auntie, I heard from Jenna that grandfather isn't well, but I just walked around the estate and didn't see anything wrong. Could I see him?" Of course," Mrs. Jiang nodded repeatedly. "Grandfather is waiting to see you. I'll take you there right now." The moment I met the Jiang family patriarch, I knew something was different. It was the spirit of his deceased wife, who had returned to see him. "You and your wife had a very strong relationship, didn't you?" I asked, the words tumbling out before I could stop myself. After I said it, I realized it might have been too forward. But the old man didn't seem to mind. He nodded, a flash of sadness in his eyes as he thought of his late wife. "My wife and I grew up together. We were childhood sweethearts, very much in love. She's been gone for several years and never came to me in my dreams. But for the past few days, I keep dreaming of her. And it's only in these past few days that I've started to feel weak, as if I'm carrying someone on my back. And he was. Grandma Jiang was right there on his back. Grandfather, could we speak alone for a moment? I had seen Grandma Jiang's spirit, and she didn't seem to want to harm him. She just couldn't bear to leave. She probably had something she wanted to say to him. Of course. The old man nodded readily and gestured for everyone else to leave the room, leaving just the two of us. Only then did he ask me, "Young lady, is my wife in this room?" I nodded. "She's with you, so I suppose she's in this room." I thought he would be scared, but instead his eyes were filled with joy. "Really? She's really here?" The old man was emotional, grabbing my hand with a pleading look in his eyes. "Can I say something to her? And young lady, can you keep this a secret? Don't let the children know their grandmother is back, or they'll try to make her leave." "I can let you speak with her," I said. But seeing his happy and excited expression, I couldn't bring myself to be harsh. "But your wife has to move on. Otherwise, she won't be able to be reincarnated." I had to remind him gently. If Grandma Jiang didn't leave, his health would continue to decline. "Let me just talk to her first," the old man sighed, finally compromising. I nodded gently, took out my tools, and set up a formation on the floor. I asked him to sit inside and instructed, "Grandfather, when you see your wife, ask her if she has anything she wants to say to you." With that, I turned to leave. "You only have half an hour." "Grandpa, how is he?" The moment I stepped out, Jenna and Mason surrounded me. "It's nothing. We'll talk after it's over." The old man wasn't ready for me to tell them that his wife's spirit had returned. It was better to wait until after he had spoken with her. If he changed his mind, then I would tell the family. Seeing that I wasn't going to say anything, they didn't press me. They took me downstairs for a snack. When I figured enough time had passed, I went back upstairs and knocked on the door. As soon as I opened it, I saw Grandpa Jiang with tears streaming down his face. I was taken aback. "Grandpa, what's wrong?" It's nothing." Seeing me, Grandpa Jiang quickly wiped his tears and waved me over. "Child, come here." I walked over and took his hand, offering silent comfort. Grandpa Jiang sighed softly. "My old wife was worried about that boy Mason. When she passed, he hadn't come back from your temple yet. She was worried. She wanted to come back and see if he was healthy, if he had gotten married and had children." As he spoke, Grandpa Jiang gave me a meaningful look. He continued, "When she came back and saw that Mason still didn't have a girlfriend, she got so upset that she wouldn't leave. I promised her I would find him a girlfriend as soon as possible, and only then did she agree to go. Young lady, you have to help Mason." Grandpa Jiang was crying his eyes out over this? And didn't he just say he didn't want his wife to leave? Who was he trying to fool? But seeing the expectant look in his eyes, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. I could only pretend to be fooled. "I will definitely help Mason find a girlfriend." "No," Grandpa Jiang waved his hand. "Your grandmother thinks you would be a good match." "Seriously, Grandpa? Could you be any more direct? Let's stick to the matter at hand." I resisted the urge to roll my eyes and change the subject. "Let's help your wife's spirit cross over now." Grandpa Jiang nodded, his eyes fixed on me. "Later, I need to tell Mason about his grandmother's dying wish." Then, as if he thought I couldn't hear him, he muttered to himself, "Such a wonderful girl. We can't let someone else snatch her up." I made my preparations again, having the old man sit in the center. I chanted softly, bit the tip of my finger, and dabbed the blood on his shoulder. "Grandma, do not linger." As soon as the words left my mouth, Grandma Jiang's spirit departed. I released my hands and Grandpa Jiang opened his eyes. "She's gone." Although he felt a weight lift from his body, his eyes were filled with loss. When Mason and the others came in, the sadness in his eyes had already faded. "It's all taken care of," I said, glancing at Mason. "It was your grandmother. She was worried about you. She came back and saw that you were doing well, so she could finally rest in peace." "Not quite," Grandpa Jiang chimed in before I could finish. "She told me to make sure you get married and have kids." This old man was quite the character. I just shook my head with a helpless smile, and left the rest for them to discuss. Grandpa Jiang had talked with his wife for a long time. He surely had many things to relay. That was their family business, and it wasn't my place to listen. I stayed at the Jiangs for many days. Then my mother suddenly called and asked me to come home. I didn't want to go, but she said it was something serious and tried to appeal to my emotions. When I still wouldn't budge, she started pulling rank, trying to force me to come back. I thought about it and finally decided to go. It wasn't that I was scared of them, but I was genuinely curious what they were up to. I just never imagined my mother would do something like that to me. The moment I stepped through the door, my mother greeted me with overwhelming warmth. "Chloe, you're finally back. You have no idea how much your mother has missed you." She even tried to hug me. I quickly dodged her. The dark energy around her was too strong. I was afraid that if she hugged me, it would rub off on me. This time, I was the one looking at her with disgust. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't get all handsy. When things are this strange, something's definitely up. I had to be on my guard. "What's wrong with you, child? I'm your mother. Would I ever hurt you?" My mother tried to grab my hand again. "I made some food for you. Last time you came back, I thought you were a vegetarian from living at the temple, so I made all vegetarian dishes. But today, I made all your favorites. Come try them. See if they're good." "No thanks." Their eyes were shifty. Who knows what was in that food? "Just say what you need to say. I'm busy. I don't have time to play games with you." After being rejected by me twice, my mother was starting to lose face. She was about to lose her temper, but Chelsea gently held her back. My mother fought to suppress her anger, trying her best not to look annoyed. "Chloe, I know you have a prejudice against us, but time will tell. Move back in with us and we can be a happy family." I almost laughed out loud. Be a happy family with them? Was I crazy? They wanted my life, and I was supposed to live happily with them? Were they serious? Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, they thought I was agreeing. My mother reached out again to pull me along. "Let's go eat." I said I'm not eating. Could these people not understand plain English? I was getting annoyed. Perhaps it was because I was used to being the senior disciple at the temple, giving orders that were rarely disobeyed. "You're so ungrateful." My mother was finally pushed over the edge. The mask fell off, and her true colors showed. What's the point of talking to her? My father had a disdainful smile on his face, as if crushing me would be as easy as crushing an ant. "Let's not waste any more time. If she won't do this the easy way, we'll have to do it the hard way." "The hard way?" I sneered, turning to look at my father. I saw that he was holding a rope. It looked like they were planning to use force. "I told you no matter how skilled she is, she's still just a girl. She can't be stronger than the three of us." You wouldn't listen. You had to waste a perfectly good meal. As he spoke, my father advanced on me with the rope. I didn't want to hurt him, but my leg instinctively shot out and kicked him. Unfortunately, it landed right in his family jewels. My father doubled over in pain and collapsed on the floor, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You're trying to tie me up?" My mother's face was twisted with hatred. "Your father is right. An unruly person like you needs to be tied up. We can't be soft-hearted." She paused, her gaze toward Chelsea softening with affection. "It's all because our Chelsea is too kind-hearted. She couldn't bear to just tie you up right away. Otherwise, humph." My mother looked at me as if I had gotten off easy. I was speechless, looking up at the ceiling. Did she have a different definition of kind-hearted? Otherwise what? I looked provocatively at my father, who was still on the floor, and sneered. "Otherwise, you'd all be lying on the floor like him?" My mother knew that if I could take down my father, taking her and Chelsea down would be even easier. So she resorted to empty threats. "Chloe, don't get too cocky. Once Master Chung arrives, even if you have divine powers, you'll have to behave." Master Chung? These people were something else. The more they failed, the harder they tried. I didn't know if they were just stupid or if they refused to admit how capable I was. They were actually going to find another master to deal with me? Are you people crazy? From the day I was born, they believed I was a jinx because of what someone told them, and that's why they sent me to the temple. How did I suddenly become so valuable 18 years later that they would go to such lengths to take my life? I really didn't understand what their brains were made of. Their own lives were about to be ruined, and they were still after mine. Still talking tough when you're about to die, my mother said with a disgusted look. It's your good fortune that we even want your pathetic life. This good fortune is all yours. You want it. Keep talking tough. My mother couldn't win an argument with me, so she just glared at me, a triumphant look in her eyes. Go ahead and gloat. Once Master Ching gets here, let's see how you'll gloat then. My mother seemed very confident that Master Ching could handle me. I just smiled at her and said nothing. I wondered who this Master Ching was. After the scene my parents caused at the Jiang family's banquet, no one from our Golden Peak temple would do business with them anymore. Other smaller temples also avoided them for fear of getting on my bad side. My own master certainly wouldn't take their case. Under all this pressure, the fact that my parents could still find someone to help them borrow a life for Chelsea was, I had to admit, pretty impressive. Master Ching soon arrived and solved the mystery for me. The moment Cheng Yin walked in, our eyes met, and she let out a howl. Chloe, you're really out of the temple. And the world stood still. Cassidy and I had joined the temple at the same time. My good friend Cassidy was indeed more powerful than me. She had completed her training 2 years ago, and had been traveling around ever since. When did you get back? I was surprised to see her too. It was impressive that my parents had managed to get her here. I wasn't planning on coming back, but someone contacted me and said their daughter was on the verge of death and desperately needed a life-borrowing ritual. They were willing to pay a high price to hire me. As she spoke, Cassidy looked me up and down. So you're the daughter who needs the life borrowing? What's wrong with you? You look perfectly healthy to me. I'm the one whose life is being borrowed. I gestured pointedly at Chelsea. The one on the verge of death is her. Are you crazy? Even if you have skills, you can't just use them like this. Cassidy looked at me like I was an idiot. Chloe, think carefully. If you give her your life, you'll have to start your training all over again. I'm not crazy. Why would I give her my life? I rolled my eyes and gestured toward the floor with my chin, signaling for her to look. Didn't you see that man with the rope, about to tie me up? Only then did Cassidy notice the person lying on the floor. When she saw the rope in his hand, she flew into a rage. Didn't you tell me the person whose life was being borrowed was willing? If it's not voluntary, my own skills will be affected. She's willing. My mother had an awkward expression on her face and shot me a glare, trying to threaten me. Chloe is my daughter too. Chelsea is her sister. Saving her sister from danger, of course Chloe is willing. My mother forced a smile at Cassidy. Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, she gave me a hard shove. Are you dumb, child? Hurry up and tell Master Chung that you're willing. I have to say, when it comes to being thick-skinned, my mother is a true master. She actually thought she could still threaten me. I played along perfectly. Yes, Master Chung, I'm willing. Do you dare to do it, Cassidy? What a mess. Cassidy had just gotten back from out of town, and wasn't clear on the whole situation between us. But seeing us like this, she knew our relationship was tense, and she certainly wasn't going to go through with it. She gave Chelsea a cold look and understood what was going on. Your family has committed too many sins. And with a bad omen around, you're bound to have bad luck. Cassidy gave me a faint glance. I'm leaving. Are you coming? Cassidy hated being deceived more than anything. It was clear now that no matter how much money my parents offered her, she wouldn't take the job. Master Chung, please don't go yet. My mother didn't catch the hint in Cassidy's words and actually tried to stop her. You're right, our family does have a bad omen. She looked at me resentfully. It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, your sister wouldn't be like this, and Master Ching wouldn't be leaving. I don't know if my mother has a problem with comprehension. Even Cassidy was stunned by her incredible interpretation. I mean, the bad omen is right next to you, Cassidy said, pointing at Chelsea, who was standing beside my mother. You mean Chelsea? You must be mistaken. Our Chelsea has been our little lucky star since she was a child. As long as we do what she says, we get rich. My mother paused, as if to add more weight to her words. Chelsea has always been our lucky star. The only bad omen is Chloe. She's borrowed other people's luck. It might look good for now, but there will be a backlash later. Cassidy was speechless. Chelsea's fate is not good. Impossible. Master, you must be mistaken. Take another look. How could our Chelsea be a bad omen? My mother remained obstinate. Cassidy couldn't be bothered to argue with her. She slung her bag over her shoulder and walked out. Chloe, hurry up. I'll wait for you outside. I nodded. After Cassidy left, I sighed and said to my mother, for the sake of our relationship, let me give you a piece of advice. Chelsea has too many lives on her shoulders. You should stop thinking about borrowing lives. The more you do it, the weaker her own fate becomes. You should focus on helping her find peace for those spirits first. I paused, looking at my mother, who was shrouded in black energy, and added, sell this house. Donate all the money you have. It might help you. You jinx. My mother shoved me, nearly knocking me over. I watched as she stood with her hands on her hips, glaring at me and cursing. You're a curse. The moment you show up, you start wishing bad things on us. Why should we donate the money we worked hard for to others? My father chimed in, pointing at my nose and yelling, you ungrateful child. You raise a hand against your own father, and then try to trick us into giving away our hard-earned money. It's a good thing we didn't raise you, or you would have wasted all our money. Hard-earned money. It was earned using someone else's good fortune. That kind of ill-gotten wealth was bound to bring disaster. But they didn't take my warning seriously. I just acted like I didn't know anything. I had warned them several times, which I considered my duty as their child. Whatever you want. The consequences won't fall on me anyway. They wouldn't listen, and there was nothing I could do. I slung my bag over my shoulder and prepared to leave. Seeing me about to go, my father threatened me in a rage. Chloe, you better think carefully. The Jiang family aren't your real parents. They'll get tired of you one day. If you try to come back then, we won't take you in. Nice words. As if they had ever taken me in before. I ignored him and continued to leave with my bag. Cassidy was always well informed. By the time I came out of the Chen house, she had already found out the whole story. Seeing me walk out, her eyes were filled with pity. Chloe, are you sad? What's there to be sad about? I shrugged, not really caring. I never considered them my real parents, so what they do doesn't bother me. You're back just in time. Let's rent a place together. It's not right to keep staying at the Jiang's house. Cassidy nodded. She had the same idea. I don't want to go back to the temple yet. Let's go look for a place. Going back to the temple meant losing freedom. And Cassidy loved her freedom more than anything. She'd put it off for as long as she could. Cassidy and I found a hotel near the Jiang's house. You wait here for a bit. I'm going to the Jiang's to get my things. Cassidy nodded. I'll go look around the neighborhood. When I got to the Jiang's house, Mrs. Jiang was cooking. She breathed a sigh of relief when she saw me. You're finally back. If you didn't come back soon, I was going to send Mason and Jenna to the Chens to rescue you. When my mother had called me, Mrs. Jiang had been against me going. She had a feeling my mother was up to no good. And she was right. But with my skills, they were no match for me. I smiled at Mrs. Jiang. It's okay, Auntie. I paused, looking at her smile. I felt a bit awkward saying what I had to say. What's wrong, Chloe? Mrs. Jiang saw my hesitation. She put down what she was doing and asked with a smile. Whatever it is, just tell me. Don't be a stranger. I smiled sheepishly at her. Auntie, I'm moving out. What? Why are you moving out? Was my hospitality not good enough? Or did Mason and Jenna bully you? Before I could finish, Mrs. Jiang cut me off anxiously. Chloe, if I did something wrong, just tell me and I'll fix it. Please don't move out. Auntie, you've been wonderful to me. Mason and Jenna didn't bully me either. Everyone has been great. I took her hand to comfort her. Auntie, I ran into a friend of mine. She's here by herself too, and I want to stay with her. Well, that's easy. Mrs. Jiang waved her hand. You can both stay here with me. Your friend must be just as wonderful as you are. We'd love to have her. That would be too much trouble for you, Auntie. I'd feel bad. I smiled and politely declined her offer. Seeing that I was insistent, Mrs. Jiang didn't press the issue. She helped me pack my things, her voice full of concern. Chloe, if you're not happy living outside, remember to come back. This will always be your home. I know, Auntie. I smiled and nodded. The motherly love I had never felt from my own mother, I felt from Mrs. Jiang. I gave her a hug, my heart filled with warmth. After saying goodbye to Mrs. Jiang, I went back to the hotel near her house with my bag. When I got back to the hotel, Cassidy wasn't there yet. I was bored, flipping through TV channels, when Jenna called. Chloe, how could you move out without telling me? Where are you now? I want to come hang out. As soon as I answered the phone, Jenna launched into a barrage of questions without giving me a chance to speak. I had no choice but to send her my location. Before long, Jenna arrived with Mason in tow. The moment Jenna walked in, she started complaining. It was my brother who wanted to know where you were, but he was too shy to ask, so he made me do it. As she spoke, she gave me a knowing look. I've never seen my brother so interested in anyone before. I blushed and glanced at Mason, who also looked embarrassed. Don't listen to Jenna. Oh, so now you're shy? Jenna teased us with a smile. Mason's fair skin was so red it looked like it was about to drip blood. Seeing that Jenna wasn't going to let him off the hook, I quickly covered her mouth with my hand. Okay, I get it. You can stop now. I understand. At that, Mason's face turned even redder. What do you understand? It was just a tactic to shut Jenna up, and now she was making a big deal out of it. I was speechless. I was about to ask the troublemaking siblings to leave when the amulet around my neck suddenly grew hot. My heart skipped a beat. This was a token from our Golden Peak Temple. If the amulet got hot, it meant a fellow disciple was in danger. At the same time, I received a message from Cassidy on my phone. It was a string of garbled text. Seeing the message, I knew it had to be her. Something's come up, I have to go. I grabbed my bag and started to head out. Cassidy was very skilled. If she was in trouble, it had to be serious. Seeing my urgency, Mason grabbed my hand. What's wrong? I'll go with you. I frowned and looked at him. He had grown up in the temple and knew a thing or two. Plus, he was a man, which could be helpful. Okay, let's go. We can't waste any time. I quickly pulled him toward the door. Jenna followed us. I'm coming too. No. I didn't even have to think about it. I immediately rejected her request. It's too dangerous. You can't come. Jenna had never trained at the temple. If things got really dangerous, I was afraid we couldn't protect her. It's okay, I'm not scared. Afraid we would leave her behind, Jenna clung to my arm. Please take me with you. I want to see. She even held up her fingers and swore an oath. I promise I won't cause any trouble. I'll do whatever you say. Please let me come. Jenna, don't be difficult, Mason said, frowning and gently scolding her. It's fine. I tugged on Mason's sleeve. Let her come with us. We'll just have to protect her. Mason hesitated. He was still worried, but knowing I was there gave him some confidence. After a moment's hesitation, he relented. You can come, but you have to listen. Don't go anywhere you're not supposed to. Do what you're told, you understand. I know. Jenna nodded repeatedly, promising to be on her best behavior. I quickly packed a few things. Looking at Jenna and Mason, I still felt uneasy. I took 2 talismans out of my pocket and handed them to them. Keep these with you. If you need to, stick them on someone's forehead. They'll keep you safe. As I spoke, we hurried out the door. I did a quick calculation and figured out Cassidy's general location. Mason drove while Jenna marveled. No way, Chloe, you're a goddess. You can even figure out where people are? Not exactly. We're from the same temple, so we have a connection. Jenna nodded. So, the reason my brother couldn't find you all those years is because his skills aren't good enough? Wow. She really knew how to connect the dots. I almost gave her a thumbs up. Don't worry. It should be fine now, I said, changing the subject. The jade amulet on my chest was no longer hot, which meant Cassidy was probably out of immediate danger. With Cassidy's skills and mine, there probably wasn't anything we couldn't handle. But the direction we were heading looked familiar. We were going toward my mother's house. Could Cassidy have gotten into trouble at the Chen's? Yeah, Mason nodded, frowning at the navigation. This is definitely the way to the Chens. The Chen family. I silently did a divination. When we arrived at the Chens, Cassidy was tied to a chair. But Chelsea and the others couldn't get near her. My father was clutching one wrist with his other hand, crumpled on the floor with a pained expression. My mother and Chelsea were standing, but their faces were pale, and they looked extremely unwell. I frowned at Cassidy. Seeing that she looked unharmed, I breathed a sigh of relief before asking, "What happened? What did you do to her?" It was only when I spoke that my parents seemed to notice we were there. My father, in particular, looked at me with a murderous hatred in his eyes. "It's all your fault, you jinx. If it weren't for you, your sister wouldn't be so sick. As soon as you came back, my business started to fail, and we even had an accident at the factory. It's all your fault." They said that using the blood of a biological child as a sacrifice could ward off some of the disaster. We brought Master Chung here to help us with that. Help you? I looked at the bound Cassidy with amusement. Do you have a different definition of help? Master Chung wasn't willing to help, so we had to use some unconventional methods. My father glanced at Cassidy, his face contorted in pain. And we paid the price for tying her up. My wrist feels like it's broken. I can't even hold a rope. And Chelsea and your mother are so sick they can barely breathe. My father shot me a venomous look, as if this was all my fault. Well, now that you've come to us, Master Chung, let's begin. As he spoke, a triumphant look appeared in my father's eyes. We were only going to borrow your life, but I didn't expect you to bring the Jiang family's girl with you. My father looked at Jenna with greed, his eyes shining with cunning. The Jiang girl has good fortune. We'll just borrow hers too. In your dreams. Jenna shot my father a furious look. My father just laughed manically. Such a naive little girl. So simple. No matter how skilled you are, you're still just little girls. My father's words were arrogant, as if he didn't take me or Cassidy seriously. Something was wrong. My father was not right. Cassidy would never help him unless she was being threatened by something very important. They might have been able to catch her off guard and tie her up, but they couldn't even get close to her, so they couldn't have threatened her. So why did he look so triumphant? Why was he so confident that Cassidy would help him? I suddenly realized that since we had arrived, Cassidy hadn't said a single word. He glanced at her discreetly. I had only looked at her expression earlier and assumed she was fine. But now looking closer, I saw that her eyes were a little vacant. Cassidy was being controlled. The vacancy wasn't obvious. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't notice it. It was as if only a sliver of her soul was present. It seemed my father had gotten the better of her after all. Probably because his own abilities were limited, he hadn't been able to completely control her, which was why he had been injured. But how did my father have the power to control Cassidy? Seeing Cassidy's eyes grow more and more vacant, a bad feeling grew in my chest. I had to find whatever my father was using to control her. Otherwise, not only would Cassidy and I be in danger, but Jenna would be too. I gave Mason a look, signaling him to protect Jenna. Once he acknowledged my signal, I felt relieved enough to start playing along with my father. You think just because you've tied her up, she'll do what you say? I raised an eyebrow, pretending not to notice that Cassidy was being controlled, and nonchalantly moved closer to her. My father, thinking his deception was perfect and that I hadn't noticed anything, didn't stop me as I approached Cassidy. My mother, though unwell, also had a look of victory on her face. I carefully observed their expressions. When they weren't looking, I quickly bit my finger and dotted a drop of blood on Cassidy's forehead. Return to your body now. As soon as the words left my mouth, I saw Cassidy's eyes clear up a little. But it wasn't enough. There was still a hint of confusion in her eyes. How could this be? Even my blood couldn't fully restore her soul. I whipped my head around to look at my father. As expected, he was looking at me with a triumphant smile. I told you a little girl is still a little girl. You're no match for me. My father's tone was dismissive. Although my haste had revealed that I knew something was wrong with Cassidy, my father and his family didn't seem to take me seriously. He looked at us with a confident, determined expression. His underestimation of me was actually helpful. He didn't even stop me when I stuck a talisman on Cassidy's back. It seemed that the master behind the Chun family was quite skilled. "Are you done with your little show? Is it our turn now?" my father said, watching me with a cold, mocking gaze as I placed the talisman on Cassidy's back. As he spoke, my father suddenly pulled a talisman from his pocket. Before I could react, he slapped it on my forehead with lightning speed. Then I watched as my father put his hands together and chanted a strange incantation at me. I tried to struggle, but my body felt frozen, unable to move. I watched, paralyzed, as my father chanted the spell. I could see Mason's mouth moving frantically, but I couldn't hear a word he was saying. It was as if the world had gone silent. I stood there, motionless, as Chelsea walked up to me, cut my wrist, and began to drain my blood. I watched as Mason and Jenna were also immobilized with talismans. Just as Chelsea had almost collected a full bowl of my blood, I suddenly shouted, "Break!" The ropes on Cassidy burst apart. The talismans on Mason and Jenna's foreheads instantly turned to ash. My father coughed up a mouthful of blood, his face a mask of disbelief. "How did you break Master Lin's curse?" I sneered. "Master Lin? You really know how to pick them. He's my uncle disciple. He trained under the same master as my own, but was kicked out for his lack of integrity. His skills are comparable to my master's, it's true, but I never said my skills were any less than my master's. I was my master's most prized student, the one he passed all his knowledge to. Everything he knew I knew, and anything he didn't know he brought in other masters to teach me. How could I be defeated by a single talisman from Master Lin?" As Mason bandaged my wrist, he glared at my father. "Mr. Chun, you are suspected of intentional injury. We have recorded video evidence of everything that just happened." Mason and Jenna had never been truly immobilized by my father. With the talismans I had given them, they couldn't be so easily trapped. They were just playing along with my act. While my parents were distracted, Jenna had secretly recorded everything, and Mason had called the police on the way over. Just then, the police arrived and surrounded my father, mother, and Chelsea. Jenna helped Cassidy up while Mason explained the situation to the police. Besides the assault, the Chun family's business wasn't exactly clean either. Their face masks had caused people's faces to break out in rashes. Their nutritional supplements had sent someone to the hospital. The police gathered all the evidence and took my parents into custody. They were going to detain Chelsea too, but she was prepared. She denied any involvement in her parents' product development, and even went so far as to righteously report some of their illegal practices. With that one move, Chelsea got her parents sent to jail while she walked away scot-free. My mother couldn't believe that the daughter she had doted on for 18 years had stabbed her. She was so furious she wanted to scratch Chelsea's face off. She's no good either. All the life borrowing was for her. "Officer, you can check, it was all for Chelsea's birth date. This was all her idea." "Chelsea Schneered. What birth date? Weren't you the ones who forced me? For the sake of your business, you disregarded my health and kept borrowing lives for me." With a cold smile, Chelsea effortlessly seized control of the narrative. My mother wanted to rip her mouth off, but the police held her back. She couldn't even touch Chelsea. I smiled, watching them tear each other apart. It was immensely satisfying. Chelsea looked at my parents with a cold smile, having played them like fiddles. When she turned to the police, her face changed again. She looked at them with pitiful, tear-filled eyes. "Officer, you must understand that Chloe is their biological daughter. In what world would parents sacrifice their own daughter's life for an adopted one? They're lying." "I have evidence." As soon as Chelsea finished, I handed a USB drive to the police. "This has all the proof of Chelsea's involvement, as well as all the bad things she's done over the years." I paused, then looked at my parents with a mocking smile. The monk from all those years ago was actually hired by my uncle. He was paid to say that I was a jinx. Also, you would adopt his daughter. Chelsea is my uncle's daughter. At the time, my family wasn't as wealthy as they are now, but we were comfortable, much better off than my uncle. So he got greedy and hired a wandering monk, the kind who would do anything for money, to say that I was a curse and that Chelsea would bring prosperity to the family. Everything Chelsea had ever said, every decision she had guided my parents to make, was all orchestrated by my uncle. Chelsea had never thought of my parents as her own. She had been taking their money to support my uncle, letting him live a life of luxury. I laid it all out for my mother, watching with satisfaction as the realization that the daughter they had cherished for 18 years was someone else's dawned on them. The bitterness and heartbreak in their eyes were almost palpable. I savored their regret. It was pure bliss. They had abandoned me, and now they were getting what they deserved. If they had been good people, I wouldn't have done anything. I would have even prayed for them. But everything that had happened to them, they had brought upon themselves. I handed the evidence against Chelsea to the police and glanced at her. Just moments ago, she had been gloating, and now she was a prisoner too. It felt great. My father finally seemed to grasp the situation. He started crying and begging me. "Chloe, we're your real parents. Are you just going to stand by and watch us get arrested? Chloe, think of a way to help those people. That way my sentence might be shorter." "I will help those innocent people," I said, looking down at him with cold indifference. "But not for you. I'm doing it for my own good karma. Your sins are too great. I warned you how to atone, but you refused to listen and only did worse things. I can't save you, and I don't want to." With that, I turned and walked away, not wanting to hear their insincere apologies. I led Cassidy and the others out of the Chun house. They had abandoned me 18 years ago, and now I was abandoning them. From this day forward, their lives had nothing to do with me. I looked up at the starry night sky and let out a long breath. It was time to go back to the temple. The trial my master had spoken of was over. I had nothing left to keep me here. I had already learned everything they taught in school back at the temple. I had only gone because I was bored. I was glad I had made a friend like Jenna. When Jenna heard I was going back to the temple, she immediately got upset. "Chloe, if you go back, what about my brother? You should just take him with you." "If I take him with me, your entire family will be at the temple every day, wailing about me stealing your heir." I winked at her, then glanced at a nervous-looking Mason. "You can come visit me at the temple. The future is long. I'm still young. I never said I was going to be single forever.